quien servimos? We serve a great God. Servimos un gran Dios. Sunday school classes are dismissed. Las clases de escuela dominical puede salir. Mil gracias a las maestras. So many thanks to our teachers. Estamos cambiando. Estamos siguiendo lo que dijo el hermano Booker, and they're gracious in this change as we implement all that Brother Booker talked about. Our text for this morning, nuestro texto es Deuteronomio 30 y 19. We're going to Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 19. And as you go there, mientras que lo busca, este fin de la semana pasada fuimos mi familia. This last week, my family and I, we went to Brother Peck's church, and we saw what God has done there. Vimos lo que Dios hizo allá. You heard about the testimonies this last year that they traded a tiny building cuando cambiaron un propiedad muy pequeñito, pero en una isla in Florida, but a tiny building on an island in Florida. They managed to sell it. Ellos lo vendía y ganaron una más dinero que tenía que pagar por un edificio del doble al tamaño, con mucho más espacio, un gimnasio, espacio para evangelistas y todo en, yo creo, 5 acres, y ellos ganaron más dinero que tenía que pagar. That they were able to sell their tiny little building. And I don't say that at all insultingly. It was, in fact, a tiny building. And he would say that they were able to sell it and buy a building that was twice the size, with Sunday school classrooms and nurseries and offices and a gymnasium and an evangelist quarters and all that on 5 acres that was not on an island. And so instead of being surrounded by rich vacation homes, en pos de estar rodeado por casas muy ricos de vacaciones, está ahora rodeado por gente que está buscando a Dios. Now they're surrounded by people who are looking for God, and so their church is in a good spot, and they were excited. Ellos estaban muy animados. And while we were there, mientras que estaban allá, un varón me dijo, hola, Pastor Mays. No, dijo, ¿quién es usted? No te reconozco. And while we're there, a guy came up to me and he said, hey, Pastor Mays. And I had no idea who it was. And he's like, you don't know me. I was like, you're right. Y él me dijo que no me conoces. Y dije que está correcto, no te conozco. And he said, we moved from El Paso, mudemos de El Paso. It's like, I don't know anyone in El Paso. No conozco a nadie en El Paso. Pero una familia que asistía aquí por mucho tiempo, but there was a family that was here, quien después se mudaron a Colorado, and then they moved to Colorado, y ahora viven en El Paso, and now they're in El Paso. He said she is one of the best Sunday school teachers he's ever met. Dijo que ella es una de las maestras mejores de escuela dominical, y su esposo recibió el Espíritu Santo algunos meses antes que ellos se mudaron, and he received the Holy Ghost just a couple months before they left, and their kids are doing great, y sus hijos hacen maravilloso. We're talking about Katrina and Matt Weiss and Ace and Valkyrie. Hablaron ellos de Katrina y Matt Weiss y Ace y Valkyrie. And in my mind, I don't know how it happens with you, in my mind, people cease to age when I no longer see them. En mi mente, la gente para de envejecerle cuando no le miro. And so in my mind, Ace and Valkyrie are like 3 and 4. They're the same size as David and Camilla. Well, that was 7 years ago. And so he pointed out his middle daughter, and he said, well, Ace is Daniela's age. Oh. Y dijo que Ace ahora tiene 11 años. So Ace is now 11 and Valkyrie's 10. And he said they are doing great things there in El Paso, and they were a blessing to be around. And if you remember Matt was kind of always grumpy. Si recuerda a Matt, Matt siempre estaba poco gruñón. She said he got the Holy Ghost, and he's a new person. Dijo que recibió el Espíritu Santo, ahora es una persona nueva. No puede parar de hablar de la bondad. He said when we left, he was the guy that just couldn't stop talking about the goodness of God. And so that is a wonderful thing to hear about, good things. Good news from a far country. Buen noticias de un país extraño. Un estado extraño. So here we are, Deuteronomy chapter 30 and 19. Deuteronomio 30 y 19. Si es un visitante de la primera vez, por favor, reúne conmigo con el hermano Crawford. Después del culto tenemos un regalito para ti. If you're a first-time visitor, please be sure to meet with myself or Brother Crawford after service. We've got a gift for you. And then we got some good food. Y después habrá una buena cena. Deuteronomy 30:19. A los cielos y a la tierra llamó por testigos hoy contra vosotros. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, que os he puesto delante la vida y la muerte, la bendición y la maldición, blessing and cursing. You've got a choice. Tiene una opción. He says, therefore, choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. Escoge pues la vida para que vivas tú y tu descendencia. You may be seated. Puede tomar sus lugares. You may be seated. Este es una opción presentado por Moisés a los israelitas ante el fin de su vida. So this is Moses nearing the end of his life, and he puts before the Israelites, he says, you have a choice. Ustedes tengan que elegir una opción. Ustedes han viajado por estos 40 años conmigo en el desierto. He said, you traveled with me for 40 years in the wilderness. Vieron que todos sus padres y su generación murieron. All the generation of your fathers died because they disobeyed God. Porque desobedecieron a Dios y eligieron que no queremos entrar a la tierra prometida cuando fue ofrecido a ellos, when it was offered to them, and they could have entered into the promised land. After only a short time in the wilderness, we think, well, they must have gotten lost. It was a curse of God that they were out there, because they were supposed to go from Egypt to Mount Sinai to the promised land, porque Dios quería que ellos pasaron de Egipto a Monte Sinaí, a la tierra prometida. And they made it to the Jordan River, llegaron al lado del río de Jordán, and they sent out 12 spies, enviaron a 12 espías. And 10 of them said, it's really good land. Y todos los 12 dijeron que es buena tierra, pero 10 dijeron que perecemos nosotros como langostas en los ojos de los gigantes allá. But 10 of them also said, we look like grasshoppers in the eyes of giants. So we can't do it. Dijeron que no podemos hacerlo. Nuestro Dios no es capaz. They said, our God is not able. Y fueron malditos por Dios a vagar por 40 años en el desierto. And so they were cursed to wander for 40 years in the wilderness. And now their children are about to enter. Y ahora sus hijos estaban a punto de entrar a la tierra prometida. So Moses said, Moisés le avisaron. He warns them. He said, I've got choices for you. Ustedes tengan que elegir una de estas dos opciones. Puede elegir la vida y vivir. You can choose blessing in life. O puede elegir a maldición y muerte. Or you can choose cursing and death. Now, I'm not always a very smart man. No siempre soy yo un varón muy inteligente. But if you said you can either live or you can die, well, I mean, living sounds pretty good. Si dice que puede vivir o morir, yo quiero vivir. Es que quiero yo. And so what I want to tell you this morning, que quiero decirles esta mañana, is that you have a choice. Tú tienes una opción. You have a choice. Tú tienes una opción. Y si lo mire por una carga de responsabilidad, if you see it as a burden of responsibility, you have a choice. Tienes una opción. Because some people don't like to have to make choices. They want other people to take that burden from them and say, just tell me what to do. Quiere que otro le dice qué debo hacer. No quiero llevar yo la carga pesada de responsabilidad. Elige tú en pos de mí y yo obedeceré. And other people see it as, man, I've got a blessing and I've got a freedom. Y otros lo mire por bendición y por libertad. Y se lo mire como así tú también. Tiene una opción. And if you see it as a blessing and you see it as a freedom, guess what? You still have a choice. You can even choose, aún puede elegir para abandonar tu responsabilidad. You can choose to abdicate your responsibility. Let other people make the choices for you. A dejar a los demás para elegir para ti. But just realize the choices are inescapable, because the choice is yours even to abdicate the power of choosing. Porque aún es una opción para elegir la opción de negar, de elegir. Eso también no puede escapar. Es inescapable. It's inescapable. You have a choice. Tú tienes una opción. It's undeniable. Es irrefutable. Tiene una opción. You do have a choice. The choice is yours. Y la opción tuya es. From the beginning, del inicio, cuando Dios creó los cielos y la tierra, in the very beginning, when God made the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. La oscuridad cubrió la faz del abismo. Él creó a todo animal, and he creates all the animals, y los cielos, y la tierra, y las estrellas, y las luces, y toda la tierra, y apartó las aguas de la tierra seca, and he creates dry land, separating it from the wet waters, and he creates all the herbs bearing seed after their kind. Y él creó un paraíso literal en la tierra, and he creates a literal earthly paradise. Y puso a un varón y una dama en este huerto de Edén, and he puts man and woman in this garden of Eden. There were a multitude of choices. Había una multitud de opciones que les diera gozo. That would bring them joy, que les daría placer, that would bring them pleasure, que les daría amistad, that would bring them companionship and love and peace and happiness, y amor, y gozo, y paz, y alegría. From, you think about, well, what choices were there? ¿Qué opciones había? Dice que Dios llevó a todo animal a Adán para darle nombre. No puedo imaginar cuán ánimo les dio Adán y Dios para hacerlo. God brought every animal to Adam, and he said, Adam, I want you to name it. And whatever you call it, Adam, that is what its name will be. That's not, I mean, it's something you got to do, but it's not work. Eso no es trabajo. Eso es un creador dando a su hijo un juguete nuevo. Un juguete nuevo. Ay, ¿qué es este? Un tiburón. Puede imaginar el gozo, Dios mostrando a su creación último, a todo lo demás. You can imagine it's not hard work. This is not a biology test. I hated those. You have to memorize all these phylums and kingdoms, and I did not do well on those tests. I remember ninth grade. And but this was not that. There were only right answers. You see this, and it's like, oh, that's a giraffe. That long neck, that's a giraffe. And the next one, it comes out, and he stretches it this way, and he puts some fins, and that's Pastor Mace's golden pet this week. That's a shark. Right now, David is obsessed with goblin sharks. Never in my life have I seen a goblin shark. I don't know where he's seen goblin sharks. I had to look up what they look like. But right now, David likes goblin sharks. Okay. There are no goblin sharks in Destin, but I'll find a different sort of shark to pet. That'll be all right. Until I actually see the shark, you understand. And then God brings him like, what are those? There's a mouse deer out there. Hay un, no sé cómo decir en español. Es un venado ratón. Es un venado casi el tamaño de un ratón. Es muy pequeñito, muy grande. Es un... Ay, yo he visto el venado. Un venado pequeñito. Y Adán dio nombre a eso. Y seguía en orden todo animal con gran gozo y alegría. And you can imagine as God brings him one thing after another, and some of the names, like, I mean, obviously they're not the names we have in English, but can you imagine? That's a deer. That deer has a white tail. We're going to call that one a white-tailed deer. That one looks like the mule I named earlier. That one's a mule deer. And then you got the mouse deer. Why? Because it's the size of a mouse, almost. And Adam, and all these different choices. And guess what? All the choices are right. What sort of experience would that be where there's whatever you choose? It's good. It's good. And he looks on it. It's good. This is wonderful. And God and Adam are having fun in the Garden of Eden. Y Dios y Adán ellos se divirtieron en el huerto de Edén. Whatever they ate, cualquier que comía Adán y Eva. They did not have to get in the car, no tenía que ir al carro y argumentar de qué comería. usted tampoco no tendrá que argumentar después del culto a dónde va a comer. I don't know how it goes for you. If I were a wiser man, I would have where we are going to eat picked out in advance. But instead, I can almost guarantee you that Sundays after service, we drive separately. And so I'll roll down my window and Christine will roll down her window. Where you want to eat? I don't know where you want to eat. Well, let's go here. No, I don't want to eat there. Well, what about that? No, I don't want to eat there. And when we try to be wise and settle this ahead of time, it turns out by the time we've made it to after service, that's not actually what we want to eat. But for Adam and Eve, whatever they wanted to eat, it involved no money. It involved no effort. It was all good. Todo era bueno. Quiere comer manzanas? Se puede. You want to eat apples? You can. Quiere comer sandía? Se puede. You want to eat watermelon? You can, or cantaloupe, or honeydew, or whatever brings you joy. Doquier que le lleva gozo. And there was only in the Garden of Eden a single choice. Solo había en el huerto de Edén una opción que podía llevar dolor y tristeza. In the Garden of Eden, there was only one choice that could bring sorrow, that could bring pain. Eventualmente llegaron al día en cuando ellos eligieron esa opción. Era su opción también. And God, not forcing them to love him, gave them a way to do other than obey him. And one day they chose. Out of all the many choices that would bring joy and pleasure and happiness and peace, they chose the one choice that could bring sorrow. And in all the choices that you can make, cuando tiene usted todas estas opciones que te puede llevar gozo, you have choices that'll bring joy. Tiene usted opciones que te llevará dolor también. And you have choices that will bring you sorrow. Hay opciones que te llevará posibilidades para aprovecharse. There are options, there are choices you can make that will improve your life. Y hay opciones que va a empeorar tu vida también. And you have choices that you can make that will make your life harder. You do. And sometimes you look at it and you're like, oh man. And you pick those. But it's your choice to make. Mas tú tienes la libertad para hacerlo. And you also have choices that realistically don't matter. But you still have to, and you get to make them. Y también tiene opciones que no harán ninguna diferencia. This morning, I made the choice to eat 3 cookies for breakfast. You know, before my other breakfast. Yo elige esta mañana para comer 3 galletas de espresso con chocolate chips. They were espresso chocolate chip cookies. They were really good. There are going to be some in the back too. I might make the choice, Sister Doyle, that during this, there's chicken. Don't get me wrong. I like fried chicken. No me malentiende. Yo mucho me gusta pollo frito. But I saw that dessert list as I took it off the bulletin board. I could make the choice, Brother Crawford, to eat only desserts back there. I might do that. Y tal vez yo puedo elegir solo para comer dulces y postres. Tal vez, porque cuando estaba mirando a la lista, quiero comer eso. Mm-hmm. That's an easy choice. Eso es una opción bien fácil. But if I keep making that choice, yo sigo tomando esta opción, eventually, I'll have to make the choice to buy new suits. Eventualmente tendré que comprar traje nuevo. It's not that I look fat or feel fat. No, es que yo me engordecido. Es que mis trajes son de tamaño para mí cuando yo pesaba ahora como 20 libros menos. It's just that I bought all my suits when I weighed about 20 pounds less. And so I can make that choice. I choose. Life is good, but so is blueberry cobbler and flan, and so are tres leches, and so are all these brownies and strawberry shortcake, and it was a list of all the things that I want and I will eat. And it is my choice this week to attempt to eat my body weight in shrimp. Y es mi opción esta semana para tratar de comer como yo peso en mariscos. Es que yo quiero hacer. It's not an immediately apparent outcome. No es un perecer inmediatamente que me causará problemas o bien. No. There's some choices. Hay algunas opciones that we view as very weighty choices que nos da mucho pesa. David and Camila really don't have, we talk about good choices and bad choices. Hablamos a David y Camila. Tienen 3 y 4 años. Ay, siempre toma buenas opciones, elige buenas opciones. Pero aún a su peor, cuán mal puede hacer un niño de 4 años. But the reality is just how much harm can a vicious, violent, hateful 4-year-old do? Not a whole lot. You know, there's his worst choices still aren't that bad. No son muy malo. And sometimes he learns from his choices. Y a veces él tiene que aprender de sus opciones para que cuando él es más viejo tomará mejor opciones. That way, when he's older, he makes better choices. We have those conversations on a more regular basis than we should. And then you get a little older y después se envejece un poco más. Y cuando está graduando de escuela de escuela secundaria, perdóname, when you get near graduation, ¿voy a ir al colegio? Do I go to college? ¿Tengo que trabajar ahora? Do I go straight to work? No digo que hay una mala opción, pero ¿cuál opción elegirá? And it's not a question of a good choice and a bad choice, but both choices will have outcomes. If I do go to work, where do I go to work? Si yo me voy al trabajo, ¿a dónde? Si yo me voy al colegio, ¿a dónde? And if I go to college, where am I going to go to college? What do I want to study? ¿Qué quiero estudiar? Should I go to trade school? ¿Debo ir a escuela de trabajo? Should I move for work? ¿Debo mudarme para el trabajo? ¿Debo quedarme acerca de mi familia? Do I stay close to my family? ¿Debo mudarme al otro lado de los Estados Unidos o al globo? Do I move to the other side of the country for a job? Do I move to the other side of the world for a job? I don't know. Who should I marry? ¿Quién debo casarme? ¿Cómo debo servir a Dios? How do I serve God? Y la lista de opciones pesadas sigue. And the list of heavy, weighty choices goes on and on and on. And then we have other choices that are easy to make. Y después hay otras opciones que son bien fácil a tomar. Should I do laundry? ¿Debo lavar yo a mi ropa? No hay ropa en el armoire. Yo debo lavar ropa. When I open my dresser drawer and there are no clothes in the dresser. I know this would never happen at your house, but there are also no unfolded clothes in the laundry pile because I haven't made it to it yet. It's a sign, not from the heavens, from nature itself that says it's time to do laundry. Let's go wash some clothes. It was an easy choice to make. There's choices like that. Will I eat or will I not eat? Well, it turns out I really like eating. ¿Voy a comer o no? La realidad es que mucho me gusta comer. Yo voy a comer. Should I brush my teeth? Well, I want other people to like talking to me, so probably. ¿Debo cepillar mis dientes? Ay, quiero que ustedes me gusta hablar conmigo. Probablemente voy a cepillar mis dientes. Ahora ustedes está pasando. Él cepilló a sus dientes. Sí, lo cepillé. And if you're wondering now, well, did he brush his teeth? Well, so did he bring? Yeah, I brushed my teeth this morning. It was for you. I could have survived, but y'all might not have survived me. And whatever you choose, you will gain something. Cualquier que eliges va a ganar algo. Y cualquier que abandonas, que rechazas, va a perder algo. And whatever you don't choose, you will lose something. That is just the nature of choices. Eso es la naturaleza, porque siempre habrá un cambio. Si yo elijo este, no puedo tener eso. Si elijo eso, no puedo tener este. If I choose this, I can't have that. If I choose that, well, I can't have this. There's always a trade-off. In business, you make a cost-benefit analysis. En negocios, hace un análisis de cuestas y beneficios. Que quiero aún más. And so you don't want to make decisions blindly. No quiere tomar decisiones sin analizarlo. Joshua 24:14 and Josué 24:14. Joshua as a good leader tries to put before the people, Josué, por un buen líder, trata de mostrar a la gente sus opciones y los resultados. He shows them these are the choices you can make, and these are going to be the outcomes of the choices that you could make. And he tells them this. Él le dijo temer a Jehová y servirle con integridad y verdad es una opción. He says, fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in truth. If you do that, si tú lo haces, tendrá que quitar de entre vosotros los dioses a los cuales sirvieron vuestro padre a otro lado del río en Egipto y servir a Jehová. And if you choose to serve the Lord, you're going to have to put away the gods that your father served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt if you want to serve the Lord. That's a choice. Eso es opción. The other option, otra opción, is if you don't want to do that, si no quiere hacerlo, si parece mal a servir a Jehová, if it seems evil or unwanted to you to serve the Lord, then choose who you're going to serve. Escogios hoy a quien serváis. He said, if you don't want God, si no quiere a Dios, well, you have options. Tiene opciones. Puede servir a los dioses que servía a sus padres cuando estuvieron a otro lado del río. You could serve the gods who your father served on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell, o los dioses de los amorreos a cuya tierra habitáis. And he says, if you were wondering what I'm going to do, if that would somehow help you make your decision, si quería saber qué haría yo, en pos de que este puede ayudarles a elegir, yo y mi familia, yo y mi casa, serviremos a Jehová. He says, just in case this helps you, me and my house, my family and I, we've made a choice also, and we are going to serve the Lord. He says, I can't make the choice for you. No puedo elegir la opción para ti. No, yo soy el pastor. Yo soy un papá. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a pastor. But I don't go to your house and say, Sister Charlotte, this is what you'll do. No voy a tu casa a decir que, hermana Angélica, este es que harán ustedes. I can't go to my wife and say, Christina, this is what you're doing. No puedo ir a mi esposa y decir, Christina, este es que harán ustedes. Now, the reality is my kids are 3 and 4, and I can say what they're doing. La realidad es que mis hijos tienen 3 y 4 años y le pueden mandar, pero habrá un día cuando ellos también tendrán que elegir por sí mismos. But there's going to come a day when they're not going to be 3 and 4. I don't know when it's going to be, but they're going to have to make a decision for themselves. And it won't matter what their parents do, and it won't matter what their pastor preaches, that they're going to have to say, this is what I choose. And all I can do for these next decade or so, let's make it a little longer, 15 years, that I have them, is I can say, these are the choices. And if I were you, this is what I recommend. Para este 15 años venidero, yo puedo decir, estas son las opciones. Si yo que tú, este es que escogería yo. Cuando vendrá el día, usted también tendrá que elegir una opción. Some choices are famous. Algunas opciones son muy famosos. Judas chose to betray Christ. Judas eligió a traicionar a Cristo. Benedict Arnold chose to betray a nation. El señor Benedict Arnold eligió a traicionar a los Estados Unidos. Many of the choices that you make, no one will ever know about. Muchas de las opciones que toman ustedes, nadie va a saber. Balaam eligió argumentar con un asna. Eligió las riquezas sobre Dios. Balaam makes a common choice. He chose money over God. He makes an uncommon choice. He chose to argue with the donkey. Never have I ever. You can't have it both ways. No puede tener los dos opciones. Dice en inglés, perdóname, voy a traducir. No es un dicho, yo creo, en español. I don't think it's a saying in Spanish. But they say that you cannot have your cake and eat it too. No puede tener tu postre y comerlo también. Porque cuando lo come, no lo tiene más. Because I never understood that as a kid. If you eat your cake, you don't have a cake anymore. You did, however, get to eat a cake. Pero si podía comer un postre. Dios dije, no puede, ningún varón puede servir a dos maestros. The Bible says no man can serve 2 masters. Because he will either love the one and hate the other, or he will love the other and hate the one. Otro va a amar a un maestro y odiar al otro, o va a odiar a uno y va a amar al otro. Tenga que elegir. What you can't do is you can't choose to sit on the fence and say, well, I will choose nothing, because life will choose you. No puedes sentar sobre la cerca y decir, no voy a elegir a ningún lado, porque eventualmente un lado va a elegirte. And so it was clear from our text that there was a choice set before them. Había, muy claro en nuestro texto, había elección puesto delante de ellos. There's a choice set before us, y hay una opción puesto delante de nosotros. And they made sure it was clear for the Israelites. Hicieron seguro que había muy claro por los israelitas. En realidad, cuando entraron a la tierra prometida, to the point that when they entered into the promised land, if you can imagine, there is on one side of the road Mount Ebal. It's the name of the mountain. And on the other side of the road, Mount Gerizim. En un lado de la calle había el monte Gerizim, y al otro lado el monte Ebal. And on Mount Gerizim there were put men of 6 tribes of Israel. En monte Gerizim había puesto en el monte Gerizim varones de 6 tribus. And as the Israelites passed by Mount Gerizim, they read, these are the blessings of those who serve the Lord. Leyeron todas las bendiciones de los que sirven a Dios. And so you can imagine coming from one side as you walk down the road, blessing after blessing after blessing, leído bendición tras bendición cuando pasaba por la calle. And then on the other side, on Mount Ebal, there was read cursing after cursing. If you don't serve God, just so you don't forget, this is what will happen. Si no quieres servir a Dios, del otro lado este es que va a suceder. Y pasaba entre las bendiciones y las maldiciones. And so every person of the Israelites walked between these 2 mountains, and they heard the blessings and they heard the cursings, and every person had to make a decision. Si quiere servir a Dios, bendito estará. If you choose God, you will be blessed in your field, en tu campo, en tu trabajo, in your work, en tu vida, in your life, y en tu familia, and in your family. And if you choose anything that is not God, si elige cualquier opción que no es de Dios, then you will be cursed. Estará maldito en tu campo, in your field, in your work, in your life, and in your family. En tu campo, en tu trabajo, en tu vida, y en tu familia. Y hay una opción puesto delante de nosotros, and so there's a choice placed before us. Choose life. He said, let me make it easy for you. Choose blessing. Él dijo, déjame hacerlo fácil para ti. Elige las bendiciones. Elige la vida. And this morning you might say, Sister Christine, if you'll come to the keyboard, please. Say, I've already made choices. Ya he tomado mi opción. Ya he decidido. And you make choices every day. Tomas opciones cada día. Tomas opciones cada hora. You make choices every hour, cada minuto, a veces cada segundo, and sometimes even every second. Cuando la vida está moviendo muy rápido y tenga que darse prisa para decidir, y alguna pesa mucho, alguno no pesa nada. And some of the choices that you've got to make quickly, you've got to make them, and they might have heavy weight, and they might not mean anything at all. And if you haven't already decided what you're going to do when the choice comes, you won't know in the moment what would be best to do. No sabe qué estaría mejor para hacer. Cada día comienzo yo con 2 afirmaciones. Every day I begin my day with 2 affirmations that I tell myself, que yo digo a mí, hoy yo voy a vivir para la voluntad de Dios y el bien de su pueblo. I say, today I will live for the will of God and the good of His people. It's what we say at the end of every service. Es que decimos nosotros al fin de cada culto. And today I will choose the good. Y hoy yo voy a elegir lo bueno. I'm not a perfect person. I'd like to say because I get up behind a pulpit, that means I've made all the right choices. Quiero decirles que porque estoy detrás de un púlpito, eso significa que he elegido todas las opciones buenas. I can't tell you that honestly, though. No lo puedo decir con honestidad. But what I can say is that today, I will choose the good. Es que hoy yo voy a elegir lo bueno. Today, I will choose the will of God and the good of His people. Hoy yo voy a elegir lo bueno, la voluntad de Dios y el buen de su pueblo. Ayer tal vez yo caí. Yesterday I might have fallen. Yesterday I might have messed up and I made mistakes. And I would do anything to undo some of them. Yo haría cualquier para cambiar algunos de mis remordimientos y no puedo. But I can't go change anything that's already happened. Today, I will choose that good thing. Hoy, yo voy a elegir lo bueno. Hoy, yo voy a elegir la voluntad de Dios y el bien de su pueblo. Today, I will choose the will of God and the good of His people. Yesterday's gone. I can't cry over it because that doesn't change it. No puedo cambiarlo. No voy a llorar de ayer. And so you say, I have already made choices. And they will affect the rest of my life. Ya he tomado opciones. And I didn't consider when I made them. No pensé cuando los hice que me seguiría paso tras paso. I did not realize that they would follow me day in and day out. But here we are, mas aquí estamos nosotros. We read in the book of Ezekiel, leímos en el libro de Ezequiel, that choices can be changed, que las opciones pueden estar cambiado. He said that everything that the good man or the good woman has done, todo que hace el buen varón o la buena dama, he said everything good they have done will be forgotten, será olvidado, si cambian y hacen lo malo. If they change from good and they do wicked. Said it's not a bank account. Well, I've done good. You know, Ryan, I've spent years of my life doing good, and so when I want to do bad for today, Brent, it's gonna be all right. It's just a little bit of the balance. Solo es un poquitito de mi cuento. He said everything good that you've done will be forgotten. Todo lo bueno estará olvidado. That's hard. Eso es malo. Eso es triste. That's rough. But I like the flip side of that. Pero me gusta el otro lado de esta moneda. He said, if you've been doing evil, si estaba haciendo malo, viviendo en pecado, you've been living in sin, you made choice after choice after choice after choice, and you don't feel that you can escape your choices. He said, well, guess what? The same way you can decide to do bad. He said, if you're doing bad and you decide to do good, si estás tomando siempre lo malo y cambia tu mente y elige lo bueno, he said, everything bad you've done will be forgotten. It won't be remembered. It won't be held against you. No estará contado en contra de ti. Now, you go before a judge, he might have a different say. Si pasa delante de un corte, un juez tal vez va a decir otro. Mas cuando pasa delante del trono blanco, but when you make it before the white judgment seat, that judge is a perfect judge. Este juez es un juez perfecto. Él va a decir que, ay, yo hice muy mal. Yo tengo grandes remordimientos, and you say, I have made a lot of dumb choices. I've made a lot of wrong choices. I've made a lot of bad choices. I've done wickedly. But then there was a day when I chose to follow God. He said, that's all I know. That is where the book starts for you. Esto es donde inicia el libro para ti. That is exactly, póngase a pie, stand with me this morning. That is what repentance is. That's what repentance does. It's saying, I don't like the choices I've made. No me gustan las opciones que elegí yo. I want to make some new choices this morning. Quiero elegir algunas opciones nuevas. Today I choose life. Hoy elijo yo a la vida. And so if you want to choose life, see the great thing about choices, you can continue in your same choices. You say, I've been choosing life. I want life and that more abundantly. Si ya estaba eligiendo a la vida, quiero vida y más abundante. Pero si no estaba eligiendo la vida, puede decir, hoy quiero cambiar. But if you weren't making the right choice, you can say, today I want to change. Today I want a difference. So why don't we lift our hands? Debemos levantar nuestras manos. And why don't we find someone to pray with? It can be near you. You can come to the front. It can be family. It can be someone you've never met before. Puede ser alguien quien no conoce. Puede ser alguien que nunca ha visto. O puede ser tu familia. Es decir, juntos. It's a decision you make alone, but it's nice having some moral support. Juntos quiero elegir lo bueno. And say, it's between me and God. I've got to make choices that are only between me and God. But today I want that good. I want that good thing today. Quiero eso bueno hoy. Quiero mejor hoy. Quiero